Hello, and welcome to another episode of Soul Chat. I am your host, Ebony Tutora, and this is going to be such an amazing episode. So, I really do my best to talk about what I've learned in each year. I remember one year, can't remember the year because all these years have been mashed up, and if you know, you know. Um, I was doing like a mid-year review. So if you are new to me, my voice in this podcast, my name is Ebony Tutora. I am a sound healer. I always want to be like sound healer, hope dealer. And what I do best is I help women go from chaos to clarity, specifically women who are high performance, really stepping into their own, stepping into running businesses, stepping into really just living their badass life, whatever that looks like. So today I'm going to talk about what I learned in 2024. If you have not checked out the previous episode, I want you to check that out because that was like one of the top lessons. I remember coming into 2024 thinking the reason why you didn't have the success that you desired was because you were not in your nucleus. I was not in my center, right? When we revert to sending those long text messages, when we are in spaces and places where everything aggravates us and we're in this frustrated energy, you are not in your center, right? You can blame whatever you want on everyone else. You can blame it on your childhood. You can blame it on other people and how they make you upset. You can blame it on other people and how they're ignorant and they're this and they're that. And let me tell you something, honey. The best place to be is unbothered. Unbothered by what other people are doing. Why? Because that's what this matrix is all about. It's about you. It's about you controlling your center. It's about you controlling your thoughts. More importantly, all of this is to do with your reactions, right? And if you're reacting a certain way, instead of blaming it on the person, you need to really ask yourself, why does this bother me so much? Right? Especially as parents, right? When your kid is not listening, why does it bother you so much? Are you triggered because you feel like your inner child, like, no one ever listened to me, right? No one ever took me seriously. No one ever dot, 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 right? That is super important for us to really look through because at the end of the day, like I said, this journey is about you. It's about you, your growth, your elevation. And if you didn't know this, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, right? And we're not doing that. Like 2025 has no patience for none of that from none of us because we have learned so much. If you have not learned anything from 2020 to now, I just don't know. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Like I have no wise answer for you because I know each year for me has been so pivotal in learning my power and learning what the next point is energy. It is always energy. Life is about energy. When you say you want the partner, when you say you want the income, when you say you want, insert the want, the need, the desire. Well, we're not going to use those words. We're going to take out want, we're going to take out need. Those are all lacking. When you desire a specific thing, when you are not vibrationally matched with that, you're just not going to get it. It's literally all about energy. And what I've learned with everyone, and this is going to really tie into the last point I'm going to make, is that we don't focus on our energy. We don't focus on what we're putting out. It's so easy to point the finger. It's so easy to look left, to look right, to look up, to look down. And it's challenging to look within. I'll be the first one to admit it is challenging to look within yourself, right? Because you're going to face some hard truths that are going to hurt you a little bit. They're going to put you in touch with the reality of realities, and you may not like that, right? It's not going to necessarily feel like rainbows when you excavate what's inside, right? When you excavate all the fears and the things that you're holding on to, right? And that's just healing. There's a lot of people out there that say truth hurts, and it does, but it also heals. And that's something that's really important to understand is that truth will heal you as well. And it'll help you gain a different perspective to say, you know what? Maybe I didn't love myself. Maybe I actually really don't believe in myself. Maybe I'm lacking confidence. And that's when we get into energy, right? If you were someone that is not journaling to get those emotions out and onto paper, begin. right? And some of us, we have to even go there. I've had clients who didn't journal because there was a pivotal situation as a young person where they were made fun of or mocked, and they just stopped. They decided, I'm not going to journal anymore. So it always goes so much deeper than that surface level conversation. And y'all know this is what Soul Chat is about. It's about going a little bit deeper so that we are not experiencing the same things over and over and over again. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter where you've been. You literally have control over where you're going. And energy is pivotal. It's so pivotal in focusing your energy on what do you really want, right? What energy am I emitting today? And again, we are in this dense physical human experience. So sometimes yeah, we're going to have times when we're off. We're going to have times where we're frustrated, angry, upset, sad, right? And it comes down to what are you telling yourself? So my key things that I'm always doing, journaling, meditation is non-negotiable. That's something I do every day. Like I'm gonna meditate. You know, sometimes my kids they get up with me, and then my youngest son he's like rolling all over me. I'm gonna get it done. I'm gonna meditate. I'm not gonna make an excuse because I always want to take time to go inside my mind and feed her, feed my inner goddess some love, some light, some truth, right? Some affirmations. That's the next thing. So beyond dumping those affirmations, and the best way to write affirmations is really looking at your fears. What are you so afraid of? Where do you feel like you're lacking? Are you lacking confidence? Are you lacking faith? We say we have faith until we get into those tight situations, right? And your back is against the wall and you're gonna go into fight or flee, right? And it's really looking at, okay, what things do I need to be saying to myself to lift me up during this time? Right. Also, get you some great friends. I'll tell you about my good friends. Okay. I would be half of who I am without them because they're just so amazing and they continuously speak life into me. I didn't write that down, but that is something I also learned in 2024. Lean into your community. I remember at the top of this year, like, y'all, I was having a moment, honey. I was having a whole moment. I remember messaging my three of my rich friends, and I was like, listen, I'm having a really hard day today. Can y'all just remind me who I am? Two of them sent the most beautiful, thought out messages. One sent me an event that I had done with her, and I was like, okay, best of. And my other friend called me. She was like, girl, let me just speak life into you. Let me call you. What's up? How you doing? Right. But that's something that I have learned because as a Capricorn queen, birthday living tomorrow, 12/28, depending on when you're seeing this, okay, um, I have lived a good portion of my life, and I think this is truly by design. I think I am one of those people that has had to spend a lot of time alone because of my calling, because who I've been called to be. And if there weren't these pivotal lessons that I personally got to learn as a young person, you know, when people talk about ignoring the outside, not following the crowd, these were lessons that God exposed me to as a young person because I needed that. I needed that for where I am destined to go, right? And if I hadn't had these anchors at such a young age, I don't really know who I'd be today because these lessons are really anchors in my heart, mind, body, and soul that keep me really grounded on trusting who I am and where I'm going. So get you some rich friends. And I always say this, like people would love to make excuses about like this is where I live. Let me tell you, I have so many amazing friends that I have met online. And I make plans to go see them. And and I support them and I share their posts and I comment on their posts, right? We're nurturing and we're building this relationship. Pray for your friends. I don't have that journal in front of me, but I have prayed for the friends that I have in my life, right? We not focus on this no new friends. No, we do want new friends. We want elevating friends. We want friends who make us ask better questions of ourselves and they don't make us question ourselves. Y'all might want to write that down, okay? Because there's a difference. You're gonna look at people in your life and they make you question yourself. They make you question yourself. We want the ones that make us ask better questions of ourselves, because that's a pivotal, important difference. So we talked about staying in your center, honoring that it's always energy. What's your energy giving? Okay, what is your energy frequency giving off? Are you giving off poverty? Are you giving off lack? Are you giving off uncertainty? Right? Are you giving off um, a lack of confidence. You know, people say we have faith. Do you really have faith? Because you have to believe in the stuff you can't see with your two eyes. And that is the most challenging thing to do, which is why meditation is pivotal, right? So we talked about journaling, the meditation. I'm always reading something inspirational that gives me new thoughts. Sometimes I pause on that and I know when I'm in a season where God's like, you just need to listen to your own voice right now. Then there are seasons where I need to be poured into and I need to learn some new things. Something I suggested to one of my clients is like, sometimes you need to pick up some new skill sets. You need to do something different, right? To really spice up your, not only does it help build your confidence, but it also helps you learn something new. But sometimes we need to learn something new. When you just learning the same things all the time, I mean, honey, talked about getting in community, get around community. Like it is not normal for us to not be in community. And this is probably something I would have never said like 5 to 10 years ago because I was the one building the communities. I was the one leading the communities. I didn't necessarily have communities. I had a few friends. When I say I had a few, now that I think back, it was like two, right? But we want people that are growing, we want people that are thriving. The next thing is ask and it is given, right? A lot of times for a lot of us, when you think about all of this, especially energy, right? You're probably not asking. Like we all ask for tiny things. God, if I could just have an extra $1,000 a month. God, if I could just have, like we do it in this lack of hope kind of way, right? And this is something I even have to remind myself of. Like ask for what you want and it is given. And we do have to really circle back to that vibrational energetic thing because now are you becoming that vibrational match? But a lot of us ask very small. We ask for very small things. And for one of my trainings by the woman named Carolyn Miss, I use her book, Anatomy of the Spirit. If you've never read that book, go read it because it will change your life on how you think about pain, how you think about your growth, how you think about what you've been through and where you are having some blocked areas. It's one of the most pivotal books I use literally for my course, 7 Days of Clarity. But a lot of times she says in the one part, she says, do you really want to live on an allowance in this life? Do you, and when she says that, it's like, do I want to live on the allowance of like, this is all that I can receive? And again, it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter where you are. When we really begin to open ourselves to blessings and we say, God, okay, I'm just going to trust. I'm going to trust that I have this desire and I'm going to trust that you are going to fulfill it, right? You trust that that check is coming every month. Who taught you to trust that? Why are you so certain about that, right? Stop telling old stories, okay? Sometimes, and this is something I notice in the older generation, and listen, when I say these things, I'm a reflective person. I'm not only listening to what I'm saying, but I'm listening to what other people are saying, and I'm going, okay, now that's why. But stop telling those old stories, right? Stop talking about how you got hurt. Stop reminiscing about the times you were hurt. Stop reminiscing about the heartbreak and what someone did, what they didn't do. Who cares? Who cares? I've even done this in my childhood where I've healed the things that really bothered me, into my adulthood, the things that really could hold me back, right? And there's always levels to this healing journey, right? So when I've unveiled one thing, something else might come up, right? But it's not going to be as potent. It's not going to be as heavy because I'm releasing it. I've been releasing it, right? And the more you release, the more free you feel, the more clear-minded you feel, the more certain you feel, the more faithful you feel. Because honestly, even when you touch on a lot of these things, it comes down to the stories we're telling ourselves, right? And your stories are really wrapped around your actual story. What is your story? That's the number one question I ask all clients before I work with them. Because I want to know your story because I can listen to you and I can see why you're the way you are. I can see why you think the way that you think. And I'm here to just reflect it back to you like, hey, you told me, I heard your story and in your story you said, and it creates a lot of who we are. And then we have these personas and we're so fixated on who we've become that we think, well, yeah, I don't got to deal with that no more. Let me tell you something. You're going to have to deal with it your entire life. your entire life, but you're going to continue to become more free and more free and more free if you focus on some of the tips that I've already shared, some of the lessons I've already learned within this year. These are things that we get to take with us into the next year. Every year that we grow, we should be growing, right? I was listening to this book and she was saying everything in nature, okay, down to these flowers, which are not real, but if they were, you would get the point, right? Is meant to grow to its fullest potential. As human beings, we don't. For some of us, we just stop. We stop at a certain point. We stagnate our own growth, right? By not focusing on energy, by not doing the work, right? By not investing in ourselves. Because some of us really don't even believe we're worth the investment. That's the truth about it. It's not that you don't have money, you don't believe you're worth that. You haven't actualized the energy to understand I'm worth whatever dollar amount I spend on myself. And we're not talking about the physical stuff. We're talking about those investments, the ROI of you, the ROI, the return on investment of you investing in this right here. Because I always say this, and this is one of the analogies that I give. Imagine that life is a building, right? Think of it as a New York City skyscraper. Because I remember I used to be the person who somewhat I had a little judgment. I had a little judgment to those that weren't growing and evolving. Yeah, I did. I had a little judgment where I was like, ugh, why you hating from outside the club? You can't even get in. But thank God for growth. Okay. So life is a building. And in this building, you have levels. So if you think of a New York City skyscraper, the higher the floor, the more that person gets paid, right? And this is just life, right? This is life. As you elevate, you're gonna have different experiences. You're gonna have access to different things because you're not way down, right? On those lower level floors, you got the janitors, the secretaries, whatever, right? Now, how does one elevate to this next floor in the building, right? If you want the lower levels, well, how do you elevate? The elevator. Hello. What is the elevator? The elevator is your mind. It's your mind. This is the one free thing you've been given to give you the free will to navigate your life. While so many things are destined for you, they can't manifest if you don't step into the energy of them, right? And there's a lot of people that could look back on their life and say, I should have been this and I should have been that. And it would have been really cool if I did this. And I'm really good at that, right? And that just leads to a life of suffering, right? Because when we're not healing, we end up living more in fear than in faith. Your dominant energy is fear. Your dominant energy is doubt. Your dominant energy is worry. And some of us need to wake up to realize that's the energy you're moving in every single day. Fear, worry, and doubt. And then what do you do? What do? You keep telling them stories. You keep telling the stories about how you don't have enough. You keep telling the stories about when you was a kid. You keep telling the stories about your pain. And we don't realize that we're speaking life into this. This is magic that you're speaking. The minute you open your mouth, you are speaking magic. Back to the building. Now, if I'm let's say I met my friends and we was on the third floor. Now I elevate a little bit. I read some books. I invest in myself. Now I've elevated to maybe the sixth floor. Anyone that's been in a New York City elevator shaft, let's say you screaming down to your friends. You like, y'all, I read Anatomy of the Spirit. I read The Secret. And I'm on the sixth floor, y'all. It's so different up here. The view is different. Like it feels a little lighter. They can still kind of hear you, right? Now let's say you continue to elevate. Now you're on the 11th floor and you're screaming down to the third floor. Y'all still down there. Y'all on the third floor. I'm trying to tell y'all, read this book, read that book, do this, do that. Y'all can get to this floor. And they're like, no, it's too hard. We're on this floor. Matter of fact, they can't even hear you at some point. And this is kind of what happens in life too, is that people can't hear us anymore. And you have to know when it's not a you thing. It's where they're vibrating. They're vibrating at a level that they can no longer hear you, right? And this analogy has personally helped me to stop taking things personal and stop wasting my breath. Stop wasting my breath. Suggesting what people should do to elevate because they don't want to. When we want to, we elevate. That's probably one of the most pivotal lessons of not only 2024, but life. Know when your vibration is not matching those around you. in the conversations and the things you desire to talk about, and the things they desire to talk about, right? And this should help you to detach and to let go. And detach doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're stopping the fear-driven voices that keep you from detaching. So some fears might come up like, well, what do they think about me? And this person is my mom, or this person is my family member, or this person is my friend for the past 50 years. But what did I talk about already? Literally, life is all about energy. And people who are vibrating low will literally bring you down to their level. It's really challenging to bring someone up to your level because they have to want it to, right? You're not going to pull that elevator up with your bare hands. They have to take the elevator up, right? So, but we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Me and my friend listening, some of y'all may take offense to this. When we talk about this lesson of learning and not dragging people to the well, dragging them dead horses to the well, the lesson we were laughing the other day saying, now you're going to have to drown and figure that shit out in the next lifetime because I'm not helping you. Like we have moved beyond that energy. And that is sometimes part of the unhealed energy is that you feel like you have to save people. You feel responsible for people. You feel responsible for their healing because you know what you know. You lived in pain, right? You've lived in being outside yourself and you know how hurtful that felt to you. And you empathize and you sympathize with them and you want to teach them too. You want to bring them up too. And honey, I'm telling you, that is not my vibration anymore. I'm gonna look at you like this. I'm gonna send you love and light. And I'm gonna continue to focus on my energy to rise and elevate. And if those people that hear me and see me and feel me, they're on my vibration, and they gonna hear me. Right? But that was what we said. We said we gonna tell you, listen, you're gonna have to drown, figure that shit out in the next lifetime. Because, honey, right, we are not sent here to drag people. Everyone is not your assignment. As much as they want to guilt talk you into thinking you are not. You are not, and they are not your assignment. Right? People who want to learn will hear you. Right? Just like when you were receptive to learning something, or when you were receptive in math class to hear what was being said, right? And you learn better. It's very simple, right? So when we think about elevation, I want you to remember that building. And I also, like I said, it helps you not take things personally. If you chose to stay on the third floor, you chose to stay on the third floor. That's a you thing, right? You can still love people from a distance. You can still love people and let them go because they have their life, they have their journey, and it's a lot of our inner child that doesn't want to abandon people. And in the effect of not abandoning other people, what do we end up doing? We literally abandon ourselves, right? And that's not acceptable. It's not acceptable to abandon yourself because that leads to a ripple domino effect of so many other things. Now you're losing confidence. Now you're losing intuition. Now you're just losing yourself. And I don't know about y'all, but me not being within myself and losing a part of who I am, I don't have the energy for that. I don't even have the tolerance of myself for that. And I can recognize if I'm slipping into that, right? The only people on this planet I have patience for are my children. And guess what? There's going to be a certain point where they're going to have to fly and learn on their own. I ain't about to drag y'all to the well either. But they've got some grace. They're in the years of grace right now, right? But they're going to reach a point where they might want to be stuck on a certain floor. And there's nothing mom could do, right? There's nothing mom could do because at some point, everyone has their own willpower. And you cannot outwill someone else because then you end up depleting your own energy, your own life force. And that's not why we're here. Last thing, which I feel like it relates to all of them, healing and thriving. Like I said, I suggested Anatomy of the Spirit. I use this book to teach 7 Days of Clarity. I use a third of that book to teach 7 Days of Clarity. And as I navigate and take 7 Days of Clarity into the corporate environment, because in corporations, we need this. We need people to understand, how are you bringing your trauma to work? How are you creating an environment where your team cannot succeed based off of the things you say, based off of the things you do? Where is your confidence? Right? Because you can share some confidence with someone, right? There are things that are transferable. But that is one of the best books to really dive into your healing and to look at things so differently. And honestly, out of all the healing books I've read, I don't even read healing books anymore. Out of all the healing books I've ever read in my life, that book helped make sense of everything: energy, uh, my childhood, where I desire to go, where my energy is, the pain I felt in specific parts of my body for a long time. Like as a teen, I always had stomach problems. Like my stomach was always a thing. And I realized it was a confidence thing, right? It was where my confidence was. It was where, my father wounding was. The sacral chakra, me believing that I could create the life that I desired, right? And moving out of phases of fear and all of that. And thriving, right? We have to literally choose to thrive regardless of what the world is saying or doing. And most of us can't do that. We have to be so tuned in to what's happening in the world because God forbid we miss a beat. Y'all got to get out of that energy of FOMO. You're not missing out on anything. What you're missing out on is your life, is the present tense right here, right now, because you want to focus on where's the economy, who's the president that's elected. And I'm not saying to deny, and act like, and go off grid, right? There's like a fine balance to this thing called life. But going back to my last podcast episode, when you are not focusing on yourself and your destiny and where God is sending you to go, how can you have clarity? How can you have clarity in the world? How can you shine your light? Like, I almost find that to be really impossible. If I'm always focused on the outside, if I'm not going inside, I don't even know how big my light could be. I'm not even receiving the clarity in the third eye vision of where my life could go, right? So we have to choose to thrive. We have to choose that thriving is a God-given right. You were sent here to thrive. You were sent here to elevate past what you can see. And I know a lot of times it feels like it's impossible, but you were literally sent here to make the impossible possible. All of us. All of us. I literally wrote that in my journal today, is that I am sent here to make the impossible possible. And I've done it time and time again. And I'm pretty sure you have as well, where something seemed impossible and you did it or you figured it out, right? And we have that potential. We have that capacity within us. So take those things, those memories, those anchors, and allow them to help you elevate to 2025 and beyond. Because that pain you feel, that's not something that is meant to be for a lifetime. That is something that's meant to be transmuted into your elevated self. There's nothing like looking back, right? There's nothing like looking back and seeing all the things you've accomplished, all the things you never thought you'd be able to do. And you did them because you did what? You centered yourself. You understood that it's all about, this is an energy game. So I need to focus on who I'm listening to. I need to focus on what things I'm looking on when I'm scrolling. I need to focus on what things I respond and react to. I need to focus on the things I'm reading. I need to focus on my community and my circle and who's around me. I need to focus on the things that I'm saying, right? The things I'm asking for, right? I need to focus on the stories I'm telling or not telling, right? And this is where healing comes into play. I'm not saying don't heal, because sometimes you got to tell the story to heal, right? And you also need to pick apart, okay, well, if this is my story, then this is kind of who I've become because of it. It's where I lack a little bit of confidence because, I learned this about money or I experienced this with money, right? Choosing to heal and thrive is one of my favorite things. Heal, but choose to thrive. It's not about healing and suffering. No, healing and thriving, meaning you're letting things go. Okay, and you can see the tattoo on my back. You're letting your wings wing, honey. Okay, because we were sent here to fly. We were sent here to experience what it's like to overcome. So make sure you're following people that are demonstrating this. Make sure you're muting things on your timeline that do not lean into your best self. Make sure you're asking bigger and saying, God, if I had no fears, no doubts, no limitations, one of my favorite questions to ask people, if you had no fear, no doubt, no limitations, what would you do and who would you be? And that first answer that comes to mind means that is your potential speaking to you. When you have a vision of who you could be, I want you to understand visions come from above, right? And now it's your job, your mission to say, okay, I'm gonna be a horse with blinders no matter what I see, no matter what I experience. I'm gonna remember that there's this vision. It's a preview, it's a trailer to your future self. And now it's not even about all the actions you could take. It is about the actions for sure. And it's also about the energetic alignment, doing that energetic work day in and day out to continue to tune yourself to the right vibration. I believe in you. I really do. I believe in you. And I know that if you're watching this podcast, that you believe in you too, and that you are doing the work. So do me a favor. Please share this podcast with one person that you love. With one person that you love. If you share it on social media, make sure you tag me so I can shout you out and give you a big thank you. If you have not on Spotify, leave a comment on Apple, leave a review. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know the topics that you're like, oh my God, I love this topic. Talk about it more. If you are someone who's interested in being a guest, you can email me at hello@queensorganizedqueens.com. And listen, the next episode is going to come out in a whole new year. Okay, this next week's episode is going to be in a whole new year, and I am so excited and honored to have spent this year with you. Thank you for spending it with me. Thank you for liking my post. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you for DMing me. Thank you. It really, really, really means the world to me. And if you're listening to this today on a Friday. Tomorrow is my birthday, so make sure you swing by my page and wish me a happy birthday. Yes, thank you so much. Have a blessed and amazing year. Have a blessed and amazing day. I love you so much, and I will see you on the next podcast episode.